In Venezuela, President Nicolas Maduro stated that the country is at its best moment in military terms to protect peace in the face of the imperialist psychological war. In Ecuador, the main trade union centers are nationwide mobilizing in rejection of the national referendum promoted by President Noboa. And in the United States, the longest government shutdown in history ended on Wednesday after more than 42 days. Hello and welcome to From the South, from the headquarters of teleSUR English in Havana, Cuba. My name is Pablo Micheliche. We begin with the news. Stay with us. In Venezuela, the President Nicolas Maduro stated that the country is at its best moment in military terms to protect peace in the face of the imperialist psychological war. The head of state, during the communal government route, denounced the creation of extravagant narratives aimed at justifying a military action against the country. Likewise, the president affirmed that Venezuela has never threatened any people and reiterated that the far right is seeking to make plans to promote bombings and a military invasion of the country. In this regard, he highlighted the level of preparedness of the Bolivarian National Armed Force and the perfect civic military police unity for the defense of the territory.
Since they can't say that Maduro has weapons of mass destruction, since they can't say that we have hidden biological and chemical weapons, and since they can't say that we're developing a nuclear weapon, they invent an outlandish narrative, so false that it collapses, and no one believes it, starting with the people of the United States. We are here with our truth, within our law, on our land. Venezuela has never, neither today nor ever, threatened anyone.
Ni nunca ha amenazado a nadie.
President Nicolas Maduro called on Venezuelan youth to actively engage in projects that contribute to the construction of a democratic and sovereign country.
Bueno, la juventud debe tener proyectos permanentes.
Youth must have permanent projects. Youth is the soul, it is life, it is the present, but above all, it is the guarantee of a democratic, popular, independent, sovereign, and socialist future for Venezuela, which we are building today, inch by inch, together. This is not a matter for one man, it is not a matter for Maduro, no, it is not Maduro, it is a people, it is a republic, it is a country, it is history, it is Bolivar, Zamora, it is Sucre.
We go now to Cuba. The government has denounced that the United States Department of State uses taxpayer money to promote and finance an economic war through the platform El Toque and its exchange rate. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Bruno Rodriguez, had already warned within the framework of the United Nations General Assembly about Washington's maneuvers to generate artificial inflation. A recent report broadcast on Cuban national television details the allocation of U.S. funds to companies, media flux, experience, and mass bosses foundations, linked to Jose Hassan Nieves Cárdenas, a Cuban citizen residing in the United States and director of the platform El Toque. Testimonies and evidence available on U.S. government portals demonstrate the involvement of Marco Rubio's office in inflationary operations outside the banking system to reinforce the malicious nature of exchange rate fluctuations, raise prices, and weaken the economy on the island. The Colombian government has decided to end intelligence cooperation with the United States as a result of the constant human rights violations in the Caribbean Sea. Let's see.
President Gustavo Petro and his government have decided to suspend all levels of intelligence from the public forces, from delivering communications and other information to U.S. security agencies, a decision that he has made public through social media, and until the bombings and attacks on boats in the Caribbean are suspended.
mucha preocupación por
There is considerable concern about the size of the military presence, now with the world's largest aircraft carrier located in the Caribbean, and whether this military presence is actually intended to combat drug trafficking or serves more political purposes.
el narcotráfico o a propósitos más políticos.
El primer mandatario de los colombianos,
The head of state of Colombia argued that members of U.S. agencies are not acting to take down drug traffickers, but rather to take down the president, his family, and his political position.
Colombia no tiene el mismo acceso a informaciones en Estados Unidos como
Colombia does not have the same access to information. In the US there is an asymmetry in this supposed intelligence cooperation because what actually exists is a provision of intelligence from Colombia to the US, which is sometimes used to intercept drug trafficking routes or human trafficking.
interdicción de rutas del narcotráfico o de trata de personas, pero muchas otras veces sencillamente se utiliza para espiar directamente.
And many other times it is used to spy on Colombian officials and political leaders, and what we have seen in recent days to attack Latin American votes in the Caribbean with impunity.
De latinoamericanas en el Caribe.
y es que con la excusa del ataque al narcotráfico,
And the fact is that under the pretext of combating drug trafficking, the U.S. government has deployed an entire arsenal of war in the Caribbean Sea that threatens Venezuela but has also led to indiscriminate attacks on boats, causing the deaths of more than 70 people, as pointed out by President Gustavo Petro and the international community. That also has pointed out to extrajudicial executions.
Ya llevamos por lo menos 20.
We have already had at least 20 missile attacks on civilian vessels. We don't know if they were innocent or guilty. Still, the truth is that there is no death penalty, meaning that unless these people were carrying drugs or weapons and engaged in illegal activity,
O estaban llevando armas o haciendo una actividad ilegal, lo que tienen que hacer las autoridades es interceptarlos y capturar.
what the authorities have to do is intercept them, capture them, and prosecute them, seize the cocaine, seize the weapons, well, whatever is worse a priori when from a bomber, locate a boat, even some that have been parked, that is, they have been stationary, and are not moving, and they are bombed in the light of the international human laws. It is an extrajudicial execution, as the UN has said.
Es una ejecución extrajudicial, así lo ha dicho Naciones Unidas.
Colombia se adhiere así
Colombia joins the United Kingdom, which will also suspend intelligence sharing with the U.S. on operations in the Caribbean, according to information from some international media outlets, adding that London made this decision so as not to be considered an accomplice to operations that it considers illegal.
Hernán Darío Tobar Gaitán, Telesur, Bogotá, Colombia.
And now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We will be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Ecuador, the main trade union centers are nationwide mobilizing in rejection of the national referendum promoted by President Daniel Noboa. The unions pointed out that the day of action sought to promote the vote for a no to the referendum and raise awareness of their demands against the government's reforms. In this sense, the National Union of Educators and the United Workers Front denounced that Noboa's adjustment could affect labor and social security rights, undermining Ecuadorian democracy and representing a setback in rights. It should be noted that various social movements denounced the government's use of state funds to finance the Yes campaign and therefore called on the National Electoral Council to exercise control. The Alliance of Human Rights Organizations in Ecuador denounced that President Daniel Noboa's government committed more than 390 human rights violations in the context of the national strike led by indigenous peoples. According to a report presented by the Alliance of Human Rights Organizations platform, the police repression ordered by the government left 2 people dead, more than 470 injured, and 206 detained. Vivian Hidrovo, coordinator of the alliance, warned that the figures indicate underreporting, as neither the executive branch nor the Ombudsman's office made the official numbers public. The report also identifies that 75% of the abuses by state forces occurred in the provinces of Imbabura and Pichincha in the north-central part of the country.
We point out that these figures are underreported because even under those conditions, we do not have the full capacity to identify everything that is happening. Underreported because the pain sometimes emerges later, weeks or even years later, the stories become known. But above all, underreported because the state, which was supposed to provide us daily with figures on injured, detained, and deceased people, failed in its duty to make the numbers transparent. The Ombudsman's office also did not fulfill its role during this national strike.
Tampoco la Defensoría del Pueblo cumplió en este paro nacional con su rol.
On Wednesday, COP30 focuses its debates on progress in climate change negotiations. Issues of adaptation, finance, and the importance of health in the climate agenda are being addressed. From the city of Belém do Pará, more than 170 countries exchange their views on the environment. However, challenges such as financing and the need to accelerate climate action persist. On Wednesday and Thursday, other issues related to health, employment, education, culture, and human rights will also be discussed. Also in Brazil, hundreds of vessels participate of a boat parade during the first day of the People's Summit happening alongside COP30. For these, 5,000 people on 200 boats are sailing along the Amazon River basin as part of a symbolic mobilization that signifies a call for social and climate justice in the Amazon. The People's Summit brings together 20,000 participants from all continents who seek to pressure COP30 members to move forward with all negotiations on actual solutions to climate crisis. It comes in a context where many do not believe on promises made at the conference on the way in Belém do Pará, given the gathering's history of not taking sufficient action to tackle climate issues. We change topic. In Costa Rica, social sectors mobilized against the policies of President Rodrigo Chavez's government and demanded dialogue with the authorities. The call to action brought together farmers, unions, teachers, and university students in one of the largest protests in recent years in the Central American country. The unions are demanding that the executive branch open an urgent dialogue and implement measures to protect local food production from competition from imports. The protest is taking place in a climate of political tension after lawmakers rejected a motion to remove the immunity of President Chavez, who faced charges of alleged corruption.
La corporación dice que la producción local de arroz disminuyó un 59%. Un cerco policial impidió que los tractores y camiones se acercaran a la casa presidencial, lo que generó tensión entre la autoridad y los manifestantes.
In the United States, the longest government shutdown in history ended on Wednesday after more than 42 days. President Donald Trump signed on Wednesday the law approved by Congress that puts an end to the longest government shutdown in the country's history. The measure, backed by Republicans and part of the Democrats, allows the full reopening of federal agencies and restores the functioning of the state after weeks of partial paralysis. The bill was approved in the House of Representatives with 222 votes in favor and 209 against. The legislation guarantees funding for most federal agencies until midnight on January 30 of next year, during which time Congress will have to negotiate a new budget package. And we have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you will be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage, and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. For a short break, don't go away. And welcome back. In Palestine, the Zionist regime of Israel violated the ceasefire nearly 300 times, causing the death of at least 271 Palestinians since the truce of October 10. Israeli occupation forces violated the ceasefire at least 282 times by carrying out bombings, killing civilians, and restricting the entry of humanitarian aid. According to Palestinian authorities, the Zionist regime destroyed more than 1,500 buildings in the last month, violating the clause suspending all military operations. In turn, the Gaza government media office accused Israel of causing famine and implementing a policy of manipulating food as a weapon by prohibiting more than 350 basic and nutritious foods. On the other hand, in the prisoner exchange, the bodies of 300 Palestinians returned by the Zionist regime show signs of torture and extrajudicial executions and are highly indicative of organ harvesting. Also in Palestine, Israeli occupation forces have prevented 76% of agreed humanitarian aid from entering the country, exacerbating the situation in the Gaza Strip. In this regard, Palestinian authorities reported that the number of deaths from malnutrition rose to 447, of which 147 were children. According to data provided by the UN, only 3,230 trucks with food and medical supplies have entered the Palestinian enclave. The World Food Programme warned that the total opening of the borders is urgent to avoid widespread famine, as thousands of families find themselves without food, medicine, or fuel. Now in Sudan, the governor of Darfur, Mini Arko Minawi, pointed out that more than 85% of the combatants in the paramilitary rapid support forces are mostly from neighboring countries. Minawi explained that this event represents the essence of the current security crisis, further noting that the militia's reliance on foreign fighters reveals its unpatriotic nature and the danger it poses to the future and unity of the country. Minawi's statements come at a time when there are increasing reports of mercenaries from Chad, Niger, and Central Africa joining the RSF, a fact that was confirmed by previous UN reports that spoke of a continuous flow of combatants across the western borders of Sudan with the support of regional actors. It should be noted that since April 2023, the clashes have devastated the country, leaving nearly 20,000 dead and 15 million displaced, constituting one of the greatest displacement crises in the world today. Germany's experts project a moderate recovery for 2026 in the economy, on track to end the year with growth of just 0.2%, an improvement driven mainly by temporary factors. The two main drivers of this projected growth are increased public spending and an increase in the number of working days due to calendar effects. However, experts emphasize that to achieve a sustainable recovery, Europe's largest economy requires profound structural changes. Specifically, there is a call to boost productivity through innovation and a stronger investment in key sectors that will enable the country to definitively emerge from the crisis, overcome stagnation, and ensure long-term economic health. Serbia warned Wednesday that all countries in the region are preparing for a possible war between Russia and Europe. The statement was made by Serbian President Alexander Vučić after the Chief of Staff of the French Armed Forces, Fabien Mandon, said that Russia seems to be reorganizing to confront NATO. Serbia has not explicitly supported the sanctions imposed by the European Union on Russia, but has been willing to sell ammunition to the NATO nations, even when the weapons might end up on the Ukrainian front. On the other hand, Russian presidential spokesman Dmitry Peskov also denounced Europe's intention to wage a war against his country following increases in military budgets. The Russian spokesman also stressed that his country is aware of the danger and threats in the region and is seeking to improve its strategies to guarantee its national interest, its security and the safety of its people. And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief, but remember you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net, and you can also join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, my name is Pablo Michelice. Thank you for watching.